interesting part. That was the audio game. Yeah. That was a hard design. We tried using a FET, but we ran into all kinds of problems.
Okay.
Didn't have enough headroom. Well, that was either VCC or ground.
Except for the.
So when it's VCC, that turns on and audio just goes through. And this thing self-biases at 6 volts because that's 470K. When it's ground, it pulls this guy to VCC over 2 and turns that guy off. So this is a mid-bias op amp sitting at VCC divided by 2. So if it's 12 volts, this node sits at 6 volts. Regardless, it's either 6 volts from this stage or it's 6 volts from that side.
One thing I would like to try. It's fun to hear.
This was a pain in the butt.
What is a rep?
It was so simple, but it's such a
Cover the bumper.
carrier activated switch.
Yeah.
COR.
I know the.
He calls it COR.
You can get a purely.
Because you can then hook
They
it
got hard
to.
ones.
So somewhere in here, yeah, over here, 2 inverters. So here's carrier activated relay. It gets inverted out 1, and it gets inverted again. Right, because it's basically a Carol, you can just use the relay. But basically this one. Or that way. This way. So you're either getting your audio from your link receiver or pilot tone from the oscillator.
Charge back up.
So this goes to the summing junction up here. I've got either pilot tone, link audio, and I think there's a Morse code ID in there as well.
Yeah, and
Or anything else you want.
I use, I don't actually use digital except as sort of the thought exercise to use it.
And then, probably.
Hello,
Dorothy. 7805 or whatever, 7812. They really don't attenuate high frequency. You got like some of the switch mode stuff, you got a bunch of 5 kilohertz runs on there. It just blows right on through. So one of the guys just use capacity multiplier. It'll filter off.
The same car doesn't even.
But yeah, so if you have a link radio, your link audio, 619, and it's 440 link back to the trace. And then all you're doing is you're either passing link audio or 1950 hertz tone. So it never shuts up. The link transmitter never goes down. Instead of turning things on and off, links always on. It's either passing audio or 1950.
Well, you're not gonna be able to suffer.
Good eye, but
If you want to go a little higher.
Good eye,
It's a haircut.
Oh, yeah, I got no cartilage left in this one. Significantly more.
Oh. Well, so what Matt likes to do, he says, I want DB9 connectors. I want one DB9 connector going in the link radio, one DB9 going radio.
No, he's been out of town. I think he just got back.
That way, if you got pull one or the other out, they're modular. So he's got his standard DB9 arrangement for every repeater that he's ever worked on. All the same.
Because I've got all the other digital radios.
I have some like more.
Now they're in the drawer.
They haven't arrived yet.
Yeah.
I wish I had the punch. I bought them.
I'm not sure it has.
I'll get a
Starts
module.
out-
Well, let me tell you, those punch tools are worth about $800 or $900 on eBay.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's some history in them.
If I needed them, I'd pull those out of
That time?
the.
Yeah,
Well,
it's very
I got
impressive.
TVs that will go to
Just the dot is down here where it's
Need any?
lines. Oh, you gotta come back.
That's lots of stuff.
I sat there thinking about, and like I said, what I was complaining about is like, you go up to the thing, right? And you got this whole thing wired up with all of these. You go, well, where's the test point? How do you get to a test point on there?
What are they up?
You need like a sharp something or other. You're poking around there. Oh shit, I broke the wire. So I said, no, I want an actual BNC where I can plug in there.
I found
You know.
The Bay Area.
Function selector.
Did you clean this coating off of here?
Yeah.
Made it
No,
work?
but.
You guys done talking?
We had a lot of,
Make-
family
check
think
it
we're-
in.
I think we're about ready. I think that's about everybody's gonna come.
It's coated.
ended up all my sibling and most of their sibling all.
Okay, so I'll have separate graph. There's a graph. Yeah.
Hey, Daryl. There you go.
Oh, yeah, well,
Check it.
Okay, we ready? Got everybody on Zoom? Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
You bet.
Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. Let's get started here. Let's go ahead and stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Hear everybody's knees go creak and everything.
knees, ankles.
Ankle, backs. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. All right, play ball. Okay, let's introduce ourselves. We have a rare guest here tonight over here and start over here with Rick.
Hey, Rick is here.
Victor Lima Bravo. Lee, W6QYS.
Okay,
And Steve, new extra. Charlie. Echo.
Good.
Hey, congratulations.
Thanks.
Larry, WA6MVJ.
I'm Brian, K6 BPM.
And I'm Daryl, KF6DI. I'm Les, W6 CGE.
Bill, WAPEY.
Well, no call sign. Kelly, KD6 OVS.
I'm Raga, K06 AJU.
Oh, boy, you're recent.
You're a new one. Okay, let's okay, now, you guys on Zoom here, you want to introduce yourselves? Let's start with Mike.
Yeah, good evening, gents. KC6CBB, Mike here in Oxnard.
On now. Who's next?
Doc, you go ahead.
Okay, Doc, Whiskey 6 Echo Whiskey and
Dorothy, K6DSO.
Okay, let's see, John.
John, Whiskey 6, Juliet Papa Golf down in Ventura.
Dave,
AI6VX, Dave in Ventura.
and I see Ken there, but he's like incognito still.
Hi, Brian. Can you hear me? There it is.
Yeah.
Hello. Hey guys, it's Ken, KA6KEN.
Okay, that's everybody. Okay, couple of things to talk about here. First, we've scheduled the first SBARC official barbecue since the COVID stuff. And that's going to be on Sunday, August 20th at Stowe Park. It's from 10 a.m. until, 2 or 3. And it's so that's about a month from now and 4 weeks from now, I guess. Now we'll be providing hamburgers and maybe some hot dogs and stuff like that. And everybody else can bring a side dish or a dessert or something. There will be no charge for it. The club will pay for the burgers and buns and condiments and things like that. And if I'm going to put a form up on the front page of the club website, so you can RSVP and tell us if you're coming and how many people you're bringing, so we make sure we buy enough food. Rick?
About beverages.
I think we'll probably bring a couple cases of something, but other people can bring those too. So, maybe we'll get a, case of Bud Light.
I'll bring some flaps of water, so water will
It's
be.
only $1 for a whole case.
Wow. You can find it.
No, we'll bring some refreshments, but it might be a good idea that if something that you want in particular, bring that, or if you want to bring enough to share, that'd be great as well. And we'll come up with a big ice chest or a big bucket or something. Now, second thing is that Rick is going to be handling the crew for the Fiesta Parade this year. When's the last? Did we do it last year?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
Shortened course.
Okay, so if you are one of the regulars, Rick's already probably been in touch with you. If you don't know anything about this, what we do is Rick, who's sitting right over here, he coordinates with the Fiesta Parade officials, and SBARC provides radio communications at key locations along the parade route. You're going to get to ride in the wagon?
Don't know. Shorter course, don't know how many wagons there are.
Okay. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Everybody who goes loves it.
Free barbecue afterwards.
And you get to be up close and personal with all the horses. And on occasion, something happens, and the ham radio people are very helpful, because they have communications with the parade officials and other people along the route, and so we actually occasionally are needed. So that's always a nice thing. So if you want to participate in the Fiesta Parade, you can contact Rick, and
WHTR@cox.net.
Okay.
What is the parade route? It's going straight down Cabrillo. It starts at Carrillo and ends down at Dwight Murphy Field, which is where the chromatic schedules or the chromatic bridges are, right in front of the red line. That's the turnaround point.
Okay. Where does it start?
It starts down at right in front of the harbor there at Carrillo.
Castillo?
Along the beach.
Oh, okay.
Castillo down to the Carrillo down Cabrillo to basically Milpas.
They don't go up State Street anymore.
Nope.
Well,
State
Street's blocked.
We don't have to worry about trains anymore either.
Yeah, my office used to be on De La Vina and Anapamu, and I'd always get caught in the loop, and I couldn't get out, so it would go up to Valerio or Arriaga or something, and they come back and go down. Yeah, they go down Castillo Street, and I'd get blocked in there. I'd have to go. If I tried to leave, I'd have to sit and wait for 10 minutes until they got a break on the parade.
Yep.
Okay, so and if you're there may be other events later on in the summer. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, let us know, because it's one of the activities that SBARC has traditionally done for many, many years. Not just the Fiesta Parade, but also triathlons, bike races, anything. And in a lot of cases, the triathlons, bike races, and those kinds of things are they need us more than the Fiesta Parade people do. We provide a lot of helpful services, keeping track of riders and competitors and, injuries. And I remember one year that I think it was you, Rick, you were out till 8 o'clock at night following the last rider back or the last runner back.
Yeah, the SB 100 is a long day.
Yeah. So, and then there's, one of them is 100 kilometers, 100 miles, 100 miles.
Okay, also.
So it's, they can be a lot of fun. One year there was one that camped out overnight in the back country, and we, put up a repeater on the top of the mountains right back here. Camino Cielo, yeah. Okay, let's see. All right, well, let's get moving on with things here. The last month, we learned about the SHARES program. And the SHARES program basically, it's a different kind of MCOM system than a lot of people have been traditionally used to. The SHARES program relies heavily on using WinLink for communications through various different ways, so that amateur radio operators can be of assistance in getting forms sent, emails sent, providing all of those things that we take for granted now that you just can't do over the phone or over radio. And helping set up systems for whoever. Well, let me back up a little bit. If say for example, the Red Cross needed SBARC to help send mails to relatives of people that were had no communication with their families far away during an emergency. That might be something that SBARC would do with WinLink, and we would be manning the club station down at the Red Cross, and they'd come down with a request and say, "Hey, can you email these people?" And that would be our job. It may also be at hospitals. We might be tasked to assist hospital administrators or hospital staff in doing some of the same things, whatever it is that they need. But we'd be trained and qualified to operate the systems that send the mail. So pretty much no matter what the emergency, as long as we have a battery, a radio, and an antenna, and a laptop computer, we can communicate with people and get out of the area and help with people reaching loved ones or anything else that's important. The last meeting, we went into detail about the SHARES system. And so I found a good presentation on actual using WinLink and how it works, how you set it up, to give people an idea if it's something they might want to be interested in. It's not your, run-of-the-mill, ham radio activity. It takes a little bit of training. It takes a little bit of computer savvy and quite a bit of radio savvy. So let me open up this, find it here. Where'd my desktop go?
You shared it and we took it home.
No, you know what happened? It said, do I want to go into presentation mode? And I said, yes. And it hid my desktop. So let me find it here. I know where the, there it is. Boy, it really does hide the desktop. Okay, let me see how I can get out of this desktop mode. The what? No, that's the whole, everything on the desktop disappeared. The, no, there's I just have to find the app now that does this. Let's see.
Share screen, you could define the size of the window. You put the app in the window.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get to the, all right, let me go to Dropbox and I'll load it from there.
Oh, number 50.
Okay.
Really? Oh, I thought it was smaller.
Well, I tell you, these, everybody wants to display something on your screen. Okay, this is, can you guys see it on Zoom?
No,
Nope.
not yet.
Okay, all right.
Not yet.
All right, let me share my screen then. I didn't know whether I'd done that yet. Okay, share screen. All right, how about now?
Yes.
Okay, let me put that down. Okay, this is one that was from Marion County EOC. Anyway, they published this, and I found it. It's a pretty long one. We're not going to go through the whole thing. It's basically just sort of an introduction. Because it was official, it has a lot of extra stuff in here that we don't probably need to go through. Okay. Get everybody behind there. Okay. As you probably remember from the last meeting, WinLink is an alternative telecommunications system. It's a worldwide service. It uses radio pathways and capable of operating completely without the internet. WinLink is well known for its role in emergency and disaster relief communications, providing its users with emails with attachments. The system is built, operated, and administered entirely by licensed volunteers. WinLink characteristics. It's email using ham radio or the internet if it's available. It can work with the internet or infrastructure, even if, it can work even if the internet or infrastructure is not available. It does not require a ham radio operator to receive a WinLink mail, only to send it, only to operate the radios that are sending it. Anyone with a normal email address can send an email message to a WinLink email address. So if you have a relative that's trying to reach you and they can't get you on the phone, they could send you a mail to your WinLink email, and then when you checked in your WinLink mailbox, it'd be there waiting for you. They use protocols now which ensure error-free communications, automatic repeat request or ARQ transmission system. It's very similar to what we do with regular computer networks. There's if you're browsing a website and you request information, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the background that you don't see. Your computer tells it that it received it. If it didn't receive it, it tells the remote computer that it didn't receive it because all the packets are numbered. So when they get it out of sequence and they're missing one, they know that, and it can send it back to the remote computer and say, I need that packet. So it's an error correction system to make sure that all your messages received, and it works very well. The basic steps of WinLink to send a message, very similar. If you do it the same way you do it with your email program, you create a message, you put it in the outbox instead of sending send, and then you'll choose a session mode. That's how you're going to connect to the try and connect to the remote WinLink server. Then you'll connect to that to your chosen gateway, and then you'll send a message. To receive a message, you just choose a session mode, connect to it, and all your messages will appear. There's 18 different ways to send and receive WinLink emails. So to say that it's, one and done type thing, if it's a one-shot deal, and if that doesn't work, you're out of luck. That may have been true several years ago, but not so much anymore. You can use Telnet WinLink. Telnet WinLink will work over normal internet lines, or it'll work over any type of well, we could actually use it like if we had our local area network working, but the internet didn't work, we could use Telnet to a server on our network. So think of like the mesh network. You could use Telnet on the mesh network to Telnet into a WinLink server on the mesh network that did have internet access and would be able to get your message out. So that's one way of doing it. There's Packet WinLink. The Packet WinLink uses a regular either a hardware or a software TNC, and anybody that's been around for a few years, Packet was real popular years ago, and everybody did Packet all the time, and then internet got big and sort of wrecked Packet. But it's actually a fun thing to do. You can use Pactor WinLink. Pactor is similar to using Packet, except it sends encrypted packets, and it uses a different protocol so that it is faster. It compresses things. It's faster. It's less prone to error, and it's a very efficient way to do it. Problem: Pactor modems are fairly expensive.
The question, right, if you try one, message doesn't get through, are you notified that it's didn't get through, or do they?
No, you'll know.
Or do they maybe automatically try another? What doesn't automatically try another one or try another one?
No, because okay, what you see here is the menu of things that are available. It isn't necessarily going to know what you have available. So you may have an HF radio available. You may have a 2-meter packet system available. You may have several options at your disposal. So you might be one of the lucky ones who has a Elon Musk Starlink on your roof, and then you don't have to worry about these kinds of things. But the one thing to keep in mind is, in a big emergency, you may end up, even if you have internet access, you may end up using WinLink, because everybody else is going to be on WinLink if there's communication issues. That's going to be the system of choice, and your internet isn't going to do you a lot of good, because if you got to communicate with people in an area where there's an outage, you may have internet, but they may not. So, but on the other side of the coin, if you do have internet, you can be useful by receiving WinLink messages and forwarding them along manually, over an internet connection. So it really, it lets everybody gives everybody an option, and some may have more options than other, even in a small area.
Comment. I have a comment about the Pactor.
Go ahead, Doc.
Whereas one thing you need to know is for instance, with teletype, you have a two-tone system. All it is two tones, and the discriminator discriminates between those two. And if the two tones are getting through the noise, you get a good clear signal. With Pactor, and I don't know what version they're up to now, but with Pactor, I have a Pactor 2, or I had a Pactor 2 modem here yesterday, but now it belongs to the club. With Pactor, it modulates in like 2 or 3 or 4 different parameters. It might be tone, it might be amplitude, anyhow, there's 2 or 3, it modulates 2 or 3 different ways. So one of those ways is bound to get through the noise. And Pactor communications, the machine will be copying when there's so much noise you cannot hear the signal. So that's the advantage of having a Pactor WinLink. It's highly effective under bad conditions. That's it.
The the problem is they're a couple grand, I think, aren't they, Doc?
Yeah, they were I think $1,200-1,500, but that was 30 years ago. But it's probably a lot more. But we got grant money so that we were able to have one on the patrol boat, one in the sheriff's van, and I had a couple at home, and like that. So I had both a packet station for UHF, VHF, for VHF, and also the Pactor station for HF. And we were able to get grant money to buy the modems with.
Okay. There's various other ways that you can do this. A new thing that I have never tried. It's called VARA FM, and then there's VARA HF, VARA WinLink, and VARA FM WinLink. And some guy he's in Spain, as I recall, and he wrote this really fast and solid protocol. It's basically a software modem, but the protocol is something he invented, and it was a game changer for WinLink because I don't see anybody here that was so several years ago on the digital net on Tuesday nights, we did WinLink. During the day, I'd send out a message to all the people that were going to be on the net, and then they'd reply. And then during the net, we'd talk about, do you have any problems? Or we'd go over, operation, or, somebody say, well, I didn't quite get how you do that. And so we try and work out all the connections issues. Now, what we were using at the time was we were using the sound card, like Signal Links. It's a little box you set next to your radio, and it's a USB sound card. In other words, it's a fake sound card, and you plug your mic output and your speaker output into it, and then the same with your radio, and then it sort of acts as the box that converts computer to radio. It's they work very well. It's just that you got to be able to get your head around ports and a lot of different things, like in some ways it's almost counterintuitive because the way that they phrase things, it's hard to know what whether they're talking about your computer speaker, your radio speaker, or whatever else, So we would work those things out during the net so that everybody got to do it. The problem is that the WinLink over HF was just miserable. I mean, it would take a month to get a message successful. I cheated. What I did is I used packet and on 2 meter, and I could go. We have a packet system up on La Cumbre Peak, and I would go from my house to La Cumbre Peak, and from there I would go to South Mountain in Ventura, and from South Mountain I'd go to the police department in Simi Valley, and they have a WinLink server there. So by doing it that way, I was able to hop from one to the other, but it always got out. So everybody always got my email, but they couldn't always reply. So
Another comment, Brian.
Yeah.
I had both stations, VHF packet and the Pactor WinLink station, and I was like one of the official. Anyhow, I had both of them, and in the house, and we had them in the van and on the ship, on the boat. It was an 85-foot high-speed patrol boat in San Francisco Bay. Anyhow, the thing about it is there's a client piece of software that runs with WinLink called Airmail, and so that's what you compose that's what you use to compose the email, and that's what sends the email and so forth. It was originally, or early in the history of WinLink, the reason for it was that it was able to. There was a program called Sail Mail, and yacht people who were cruisers and way out in the ocean and far from any VHF or UH, they were too far from shore for VHF, and those folks could report in every day and talk to their home base or their family and give their position in their Latin lawn and all that stuff. And so the HF is for when you need to talk specifically a long distance and you don't have a VHF link that you can do it. If you can, you'd always use a VHF if it's close enough, and because it's much quicker, as you said. And the long distance one, HF, would the communication conditions would have much more of an effect, and that's why all that fancy modulation and the forward error correcting came in handy, because they corrected for poor conditions of communication over long distances, and that was important for people who were isolated in the mountains or who were at sea, and so that was the reason for that. But you'd always use VHF if you could.
Anyway, needless to say, there's a lot of different ways, and depending upon, you should probably become competent in at least a couple of ways of doing it, so that you can do it with HF and then have a failover, or do it with the 2 meter FM and then have a failover to HF or whatever. But we had a lot of trouble with HF, but from what I've been hearing is that is not so much of an issue now. The problem we had is WinLink has a neat little thing, and it tells you what WinLink servers are available, and it also estimates the whether or not you're going to be able to reach them. It gives you sort of a propagation estimate to let you know which ones to try. The problem that we had is that it was an old list, and it was just sort of like repeater book. They've got repeaters in there that haven't been working for 10 years, and in their list, they had a lot of those that didn't work. So you'd spend 15 minutes trying to send something to one of these and nothing. If you had an FM radio, if you had a HF radio with a waterfall, it was somewhat helpful because it has a distinctive pattern in the waterfall, and you could sort of look around the frequency area that they use, and you could find if there was, because they also beacon periodically, so you'd see them in the waterfall, and that was a better way to hunt them. But not everybody had that capability, so I did. So I'd say, okay, I see one on this frequency, and then they'd move over to that frequency and they'd be able to send it. but still, it was pitifully slow. I mean, that's why the net was 2 hours.
Right. It was pitifully slow, and that was using text. No RTF, no HTML.
No, and that's just plain text. That's no pictures or anything else, just plain text. Now, there's another thing that Doc didn't mention. I used a program called Outpost, and it worked with it works with WinLink, and it is almost exactly like your normal email client. You put in, I pre-program my link so that it would go to La Cumbre, to South Mountain, and then to Simi Valley. And you can put that in advance. And then it tells it how you want to route it. And every time it was one click, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and I'm done. And it was super simple. But the WinLink is a little confusing because they keep adding more and more features to it. Here's sort of how WinLink works to send internet email. Over here, you've got a guy with a computer. Wait a minute. Yeah, and he's a guy with a computer, and he's creating an email, WinLink Express. This is how you'd send it over the internet. It would go by over your modem of some kind to the internet, and then back down from the internet to the email user. That's not a great graphic for this. So, and they don't have to be connected. They don't have to be sitting there. That's one of the nice things. If you're operating a radio in an emergency, you got to be there at the radio, and with this, the mails will come in anyway. And then you can go, matter of fact, you probably don't want to sit and wait for it because it might not come immediately and you'll just be sitting there looking dumb. And, it'll show up, and you'll have, you go sit down at your computer and you'll have messages. They use redundant email storages. Now, this is new since I used WinLink. So Amazon Web Services has a lot more going than just Amazon, if you hadn't heard. AWS is probably the world's largest, I'm not going to say data facility, because there's multiple data facilities all around the world. They have and they have systems that store. They use a system where if you go to download something from like you say you want to download a movie, and they're on Amazon Web Services. Well, as you can see here, Amazon has a bunch on the West Coast, and they got a bunch over here on the East Coast and in the eastern part of the country. So, but say you're over in Spain. Well, they got them there too, in Europe. So they have this copies of the data on all of these. So when you go to download, you'll download it from the closest, fastest server. And it's uses a method. It's I don't know. I think they use it. It's called Anycast, and it's smart, and it knows where the user's connecting from, and tries to get them to the fastest location. For emergency communications, it's redundant email storage. So you have copies of your email waiting to be picked up on all of those orange servers, or even over in China. Let's see. Okay, this is how it works radio to radio. You can do it radio to radio with just two guys. They don't need to send to any server. They can be one in Goleta and one in Carpinteria. And if you can hear each other, you can practice. So you can send a WinLink directly to his WinLink, and he can send one directly to yours. So you're exchanging emails over a short path, and you're not making any use of the internet, not making any use of any WinLink server. You're totally independent. So, which also works well in that you're not sending necessarily directly to this person. So you could have, say, for example, you had, the Red Cross had, say, 4 remote aid stations set up in Santa Barbara area, maybe 1 in Goleta, 1 in Carpinteria, 2 in Montecito because they're rich. You know, you could send an email because you could all reach each other locally from a 2-meter radio. You could have your send an email to all 3 of the other stations at one time, and you can send pictures. You can send forms. I'll get into forms here in a little bit, but the anything you can do with email, you can see. You can even send short videos. It might take a little bit of time. It operates at about 9,600 baud over FM, and if you're using PACTOR, it's quite a bit faster. But it's very easy to set up your own network. You know, we did that with the mesh. You know, we really couldn't connect too well to other areas, but in Santa Barbara, we could connect to each other. Matter of fact, Larry and I could still do it to this day because we still have our mesh nodes up and they can still see each other. And it's very similar to that. We can have, theoretically, you could have 20 different WinLink installations. You could have them all the hospitals, all the retirement communities, all of that. You could be sending out, bulletins periodically if if that was a service that you want to provide. It's a great opportunity for amateur radio people that want to participate in helping in an emergency but don't want to get involved with this. Is they can simply do things like find out pharmacies that are open, find gas stations that are open, places where you can get food, medicine, whatever it is you need, and send out a newsletter, or not a newsletter, but a bulletin to all these other WinLink stations in the area, so they can tell them. I'll give you an example. We had a power outage one night. It was a fairly good size, took out all of downtown, and the generator came on for the repeater on the Mesa. Within about 5 minutes, we knew the boundaries of the power outage because of all of our guys, all over town, were all on the radio. And we knew the boundaries, and we knew the closest gas stations where people could go get gas for their generators that were open. I think the cutoff was out by 5 Points on State Street. And 5 Point Shopping Center, I think, was the end of the blackout. But it was super helpful. But we all had radios. So with this, you can help groups that only have one radio, but they have a lot of people to worry about.
Ryan, can you bounce this the same way from off a repeater to another radio?
Yeah, you could.
Well, are these on the same frequency?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like FT8.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're saying, okay, we're all on 14074.
Right.
And as long as you're running the client WinLink Express, now W2 SRP, if that guy wants to send to KG4NXO, he's got to put in the address KG4NXO@winlink.org, right?
I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Because when I set up my WinLink, I had to get in and register my license.
Right.
I had to get registered on the system.
Yeah.
So that then I tested it, and I actually did get I sent myself an email, and it was address WA670J@winlink.org.
Right.
And it went over the internet.
Right.
But this is really this is FT8.
Yeah, I'm not exactly. I think I think there's a promiscuous mode in this, so that it will just get all the email.
Oh, okay.
When you
All
do
the
it that
email,
way?
including the stuff on AWS.
No. If you
This is completely separate.
Say
now
you
from
had-
AWS.
say you had 5 stations
Right.
and you set it just send an email out.
Okay, all 5 stations are on the same frequency
Frequency, right,
and they can all simultaneously receive each other.
right.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay, this is how it works with a packet WinLink session. You have this little thing under here, underneath the radio, right? There is a Cantronics packet, looks like. And this one up here has one. It's basically the same as just using packet or not packet. It's just that you have the TNC involved in there, and the TNC works as it means terminal node controller is what TNC means. So it's the controller unit that takes your radio output and converts it into a format that is suitable to be broadcast and then received by someone else also with a TNC. If you want to do it directly, otherwise it's not everybody has to have one, not anybody has to have one. It's just another method for using it. There you go. That's a Cantronics Packet Communicator 3+. These have been around for 20 years. Well, the Plus has been around for about 15 years. Before that, it was just the Packet Communicator 3. Interestingly, these have their own little mail server in them, inside. There's a little thing, it's called the BBS, and people can send email messages directly to you, and they're stored on this unit. So you can have a whole system just using these. So and Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club had several of these at one time. They had digipeaters. You can use these for weather stations. Any data that you want to from a computer and you want to get it out over the air so that others can use it, you need to have some kind of TNC. When you use APRS, that's probably something you might be more familiar with, because so many radios these days have APRS capabilities. You have to have a little TNC in your radio to handle that. So if your radio has APRS capabilities, you have a TNC in your radio, and you might be able to use that. There are some radios like Kenwood, the D710s and
74A.
74A and the D710s. They all have built-in TNCs, and that's all you need. It's just that. You don't need any more boxes on the outside. It's all set up to go.
Now, the WinLink Express client is set up to use that TNC?
It will if it's there.
If it's there, it'll recognize it, and it.
Well, yeah. Well, you have to tell it how you're going to do it. The configuration is
Okay.
that's you only got to configure it once.
Oh, okay.
And that's for the practicing over the net was very helpful, because we would take the time and test and do all that. By the time the net was over, at least a couple of people were working. And then we do the rest of them the next time. So this is an example of an HF system here. This one on the lower left-hand side is a gateway. Now they call them that's what I've been referring when I say WinLink server. This is what I'm talking about. This is a gateway. This sits there and it listens. There's nobody sitting there operating it. It's just a dumb terminal somewhere. Which makes it great for something that we could set up at the Red Cross. We could set up a gateway there because we have radio, we've got generator. We have potentially the capability of putting a Starlink on the roof. Couple of our members have Starlinks, and if we could put a Starlink on a roof, run a cable down the chase that drops right down into the into the radio room, and we could act as a WinLink gateway location. Now, what the gateway location does is hopefully the gateway location is going to have internet connectivity. If they don't, they can use the same mechanisms that you use to send a message to the gateway to go to another gateway. And I used to, when I did HF, I had the most luck with the station in Mexico City. So I could send a message to the station in Mexico City. Once he got it, it went to the other stations and it got sent out. So but with HF getting to Mexico City is a piece of cake. So as long as it's on.
And you know the frequency.
And you know the frequency. Well, they give you the frequencies. They they give you a list of frequencies to try. And they've sort them according to the
WinLink Express has a list of the frequencies. Yeah. Okay, so it's just like FT8. It's got the list of the frequencies.
Very similar.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, this is an example of a WinLink a packet WinLink session. As you can see here, it looks an awful lot like a regular email program. Might be a little bit different is your folders and so on. On the top here is a list of all the things you've received. This box down here in the middle is that's how you compose a message. And it gives you all the details of, the message that you're replying to. So you can see, I don't know if you can read this here, connection type, digipeater. So that's what I was doing with Packet. I was going to a digipeater, going to another digipeater, and then going to home, to the home run and making that at the police department, Simi Valley. And so I could do that. And as you see here, it said digipeater, it gives the digipeater thing, then via, and you can add 2 vias. So, and so what it does on the via, it goes to the digipeater, and then it sends something to the via, and the via knows that it's coming at, that it's coming to him, and it repeats it to the next one. So it's pretty neat. And the other program that I was talking about, the one called Outpost, works very much the same way. You program your digipeaters where you want, what you have available, and a path to a certain area, and every time. At that point, it almost becomes as seamless as using regular email.
Right, nothing prevents you from having 5 laptops. You've got this one in this car, and generally go in this area. You've got it configured for one thing. You got another one at home.
Yeah.
You got another one in a go bag.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's although it's a little bit more complex, it's more flexible than regular email, because you have a lot of different ways you can do it. And you can like you said, you can have one setup for your car, or like a laptop. You can have
a junker laptop you just keep in your car as an emergency.
Yeah.
Junker laptop?
Yeah, junker laptop burner.
Well, especially if you have a mobile in your car that has a TNC built in, you're done. All you need to do is get a cable for your computer to the back, the data port on your radio with TNC capabilities. and you might have to crack the manual a little bit, but, it works. The,
Say that, when we were doing parking lot worship service. Yeah, you can't sit with the laptop in the driver's seat.
That's sound.
And even the passenger seat was no fun. I would sit in the back seat, and I'd actually sit there with a laptop and a mixer board. And it was really comfy.
yeah.
Leave the engine running with the air conditioner,
Oh, no, I got, an email one night, from one of the guys that normally checked into the digital net. And he sent it from his car, somewhere around Barstow over HF. So he sent me an email from his car.
My station with UHF, with VHF and HF WinLink was originally set up in an Airstream trailer. Basically, with both battery and AC connectors and also battery. So basically, I could go out and park the thing anywhere and operate a WinLink station.
Yeah, it's. I mean, all you need is your a computer. You need some kind of modem, unless it's built into your radio, and then you need a radio. And if you've got a HF radio in your mobile, that's great. If you only have FM, that's great too. You can find there's a lot of these FM available. So
well, I was just thinking kind of something stupid. You could even like pair your cheesy cell phone to your laptop, hook up your TNC as a distributor, drive to somewhere where there actually is stuff.
Yeah, well, you could do a lot of, if you had a FirstNet phone or something. There's a lot of capabilities.
Windows or Mac?
Unfortunately, most of the stuff only works on Windows. I talked to the people at WinLink, and they asked me if I'd like to participate in their programming, in the development. But I just, it's all uses .NET, and probably it doesn't mean anything to you guys, but it's written in BASIC, and I'm just not gonna fool around with that stuff. So I'm not being a snob. I just don't like it.
No, go ahead, be a snob.
Yeah,
Be honest, anyway.
they're not paying you enough for that.
Yeah. It's just, it's like beating your head against the wall, and it's just, and part of the problem is working with people also that's what they write in. You're not on the same planet. This is the Bara FM thing is real interesting. That's something I want to try, because it's a whole application here that you run that acts as your modem. It's a software modem. You run this, you've got all the controls here. I'm not sure what all these mean, but it gives you a lot of information, and it's supposedly very, very fast and totally error-free. The only downside is that the guy did not create. It's not free. The guy that wrote it to make money, and so he charges for it. Everything else is free, except for the hardware, of course. Now this is a hybrid session. So let's see what we got here. We got a WinLink Express to a WinLink Express, and they're going through a hybrid server, through an HF server. Yeah. I don't know why they call it a hybrid system. The message is stored on the middle one on the server, and then you pull it off the server. That's the difference between two WinLink Express stations connecting to each other is that your message is not stored on a server anywhere. If you really want to keep it secure, then you'd use something like Pactor only between two stations. And then you got a pretty secure. Yeah, and Pactor has various levels of encryption, depending upon the application. We can only use, I think, Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, we can only use up to Pactor 2 on ham radio. Doc?
Yeah, I haven't kept up with the last decade of changes, Brian.
Okay. I think that was the only one that I think that's the highest that we can use, but I think it goes up to like Pactor 6 or something, but there's and they're all different, and the encryption mechanisms are not free either. They cost money. So the higher encryption method that you use, you have to pay extra for those things. Even radios like P25 radios that offer encryption, you get the radio, it's all good to go, everything's in there, but you got to buy a code. You got to put that code in your radio, and then that encryption is alive.
But that hybrid server could also be hooked up to the internet.
It could.
So it could relay it to you immediately if you were on the internet.
That's right. And what would happen is if somebody sent an email to you, it would end up on that server. And when you signed on, you'd get your email, even though that somebody might have been in Egypt, or
But
whatever.
does the system purge all the emails? Because you showed the map of all the various AWS, gateway sites.
Yeah, no, I don't know for sure, but I doubt that they keep them forever. I think it's probably got a short retention period, 30 days or something like that. Now it isn't an IMAP server, and to explain what that is, your email, the same what you use in your smartphone or your computer, anything else, usually you're using an IMAP server to get your mail. And an IMAP server means that all your messages are stored on that server. So, which ended up being a brilliant idea because now people have a lot of different devices, and they didn't want to, you may have a desktop, a laptop, a phone, a tablet, and you want to get your email on all those. So if on an IMAP server, your messages are all stored. Now, originally 30 years ago, it was POP3. So you probably remember seeing that or something when you set up your mail. POP3 downloaded the message off the server, and then it was gone from the server. It was only on the computer you downloaded it to. So so if you in fact had two devices, your two devices would never have the same emails. Once you downloaded it to the other device, it's gone. It's only on that device. So these are not IMAP servers. So once it's retrieved from the server, it's gone.
Yeah, the POP was Post Office Protocol, as I recall. And also, by the way, it's good to hear that we can only use Pactor 2 because the modem that I just donated to the club is a Pactor 2 modem. So it'll still be useful and valuable, I guess.
Absolutely. Let's see. Hybrid network used in an emergency scenario when there's no infrastructure to forward to the AWS or forward to the AWS. The hybrid HF station holds the messages. So, well, there you go. When it holds the stations until it has a way to get rid of them and send them to the main servers. And once you get it and download it, then it's gone, I guess. When a WinLink operator uses HFBAR or HF Pactor radio only session, they connect to their preferred hybrid gateway station, and the message is downloaded to them. Radio only sessions. HF, looks just like the map that guy had last month.
by the way, the HF signal and the forward error correcting protocol was what was already in use in radio teletype on board ships, naval ships and ocean liners and things like that. And it has a funny sound to it because it sends a few packets, and then it waits, and from the other end it hears a response, and the response either says okay or it says send it again. So it goes beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, like that, and it takes a little bit longer for the whole process.
There's no charge for the entertainment, by the way.
Well, it's illegal to send music, so that's why I had to make it monotone.
Yeah.
No, you could play it on the piano, Doc.
Yeah.
What's the fastest Packer would run throughput? On the, say, the, you know.
Doc,
Yeah.
did you hear Callie?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I missed it.
Oh, okay. He said, what was the fastest throughput you could get on Pactor?
I don't know, a few hundred baud. On packet, it was 1,200. And later 90s, I think you could maybe get 9,600 baud, but it was more like 300 baud or a little, depending on conditions. And when I was doing it, that was at a good part of the top of the sunspot cycle. So I think, anyhow, it depends on the communication conditions and the pathway that you're trying to send the messages. And yeah, after a while, like any other HF work, you get used to which stations are functioning, which ones that are on the list of the gateways are still there, and so forth. And you can tell by where they are, as you do with HF, by where you're trying to talk to and what time of day it is, you can make a pretty good guess as to what bands will be open. And then, of course, each gateway station will send and receive on a series of frequencies, one in each of the amateur bands. So it's listening on all of them, and if you pick the one that gets through, it'll take the message and forward it. So.
Okay, this is how you compose a message. So you guys have all sent emails probably, so it's just like doing that. The only difference is instead of send, you send it to your, you post it to the outbox. And here's the reason you do that. Say you have 5 emails to send out. So you'll compose all 5 emails, you'll post them to your outbox, and then you'll do your connection. Then you'll get on the air, you'll find a station that's working. Once you've got it there, all of your messages in your outbox will be sent. So that saves you from having to go through the whole process for each message. You can batch them so that you can have 5 messages there waiting to go. And once you've negotiated your connection on your chosen way to do it, it will send all 5 of your messages waiting.
So you don't need to split it up like they.
No.
2 different.
No, and as I recall, that's how I used to do it for the net. I'd send an email to each person, and then I just hit send. And I believe that's what it said too. You just hit send, and it automatically negotiated everything for me and did it all. Using Packet is really, I think, to my mind, is preferable to using HF because it's very dependable. It's just like using a repeater. Our repeaters, with the rare exception, are almost always have the same coverage all the time. And you can depend on them being there, and you can depend on being heard. And so using 2-meter frequencies for packet to send it, it was always very reliable because there's none of this, what band is open, and that, to me, that was like the fallback. If it didn't work on HF or on FM, I'd have to go to HF and end up in Mexico City. Okay, well, see, okay, they compose the email and they put them in the outbox, and then you have to start your session. So you open a session, you choose the protocol you want to use, and then you hit start, and that will start your session. And if you've got a station that's replying to you saying it's there, go ahead and send email, then it will send all your emails. It's very similar to doing regular email. When you send an email, your server, wherever it is, if it's Gmail, whatever, replies to you. There's a whole bunch of activity you don't see going on when you send an email. There's a handshake that you send a message to a mail server and that you want to send out, and the first thing you do is request a connection, and the mail server replies back, "Hello, happy to meet you," and sometimes actually say that. It actually has that line of text. And then you will send a message. It's called the hello, but sometimes they spell it EHLO. And that's going, "Hello, I've got a message for you," and it responds. And when you do that, you identify your computer. And then you send the message and say who's sending it, and it replies to you, "Okay, I got that." And then you send another message that says the recipients that you want to send it to. Now, if it's if you have more than one recipient, it will give it a list. If they're like CCs, it doesn't do it for them. Then it's going to reply back and it's going to say data. That means, okay, it's okay to send your message, and you start sending all that stuff. So it could be a picture, could be, there's all kinds of encoding mechanisms involved depending upon the type of stuff you're trying to send. And you send it, and then it will, at the very end, you send a line with 2 periods on it. And that's the end of the session. And it's over with in the mail sentence. So it's probably very, very similar to what they do here. So there's some stuff going on in the background that you never see. Templates. This is one of the cool things, although we really didn't have a use for it playing around. Every organization that we might provide service for has their own set of templates for things. Now they've got medical templates. They've got the Red Cross has their own whole set of templates. The various state and federal emergency department or emergency organizations may have all their different forms. You see here they got FEMA forms, Canadian forms, ARC forms, that's America Red Cross. There's Oregon state forms. I'm sure there's California state forms. There's Hawaii state forms. They got a whole bunch of them here. Anyway, all of these forms that look like forms. So sending this like a PDF or something would be much, much bigger and very inefficient. So what they do is they send this message with the form name built into it. Like this is general message ICS 213. So that's the form. And you just fill it out and then you send it. And all you're sending is the information that you filled out. And then it's reconstructed on the other end into a form. And when the person receives it, they receive an email that looks like this form. But you never did send the form. It's just that they're all agreed upon. They're all using the same forms. And the form will all be filled out. And then they can print it out or whatever they're supposed to do with it. And it's all good. So when you're doing it over HF or especially HF, the least amount of stuff you want to send is advisable. Message procedure, emergency, any message having a life and death urgency, priority, important messages having a specific time limit. Welfare refers to an inquiry about the health of an individual in a disaster area. I could see that being a big thing, and if you're cut off from communications, and nowadays we're so used to having text messages and FaceTime and Skype and all those things to talk to people, that could be something, hey, I want to get a message to my mother in Illinois and let her know I'm okay. And, that could be a very easy thing that ham radio people could provide. Routine, most traffic is normal routine. And there's urgent, non-urgent, medium, and informational low.
So who runs WinLink that would establish the precedence or priority list?
I think all those priority lists come from the agencies.
The users,
Well,
the agencies.
not from the hams, but from.
Well, who's running the network? Who's running WinLink so that if you have all these forms, that they have then a priority, somehow keyed into it so that when it hits the server now reprioritizes according to what this rubric has on it.
No, I think this is actually they don't do this anymore, but the normal email has a priority function.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be able to say, priority, and it's still in email today. It's still legal to do that, but nobody does it because everything's high priority that you get, at least, to the spammers it is. Been trying to set up a call with you to
Get this called out of Nigeria.
Yeah, I get them for SBARC all the time that they've got people want to loan us $500,000.
With the form, it's like a HF, it'll, just so many fields. So it goes out your HF. When does it get reconstituted into the verbose?
When the person picks up the message. So when they get it.
When you get it from the server, it'll just say whatever, general ICS 213.
In the background it will, but when you see it, it's going to have the form.
When you get on your WinLink client, it'll turn it into something intelligent.
Right.
So it's basically that's compressed format.
Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere.
And because they're all WinLink clients are all using the same forms, and WinLink is real particular about making sure you always keep it updated because they make changes. And so they want everybody working on the same thing. So if Red Cross adds a form or whatever, that'll be in there. It's a lot like, amateur radio. You can get them from ARRL. They're pads for taking a message, and they're boxes that you fill in when you're passing messages. And this is not like leaving a message for Bob or Joe or something. This is like an official. I should have brought one. I have one of those tablets too, and they're yellow, and you fill these in exactly, and that's the information that you pass. And you do it in that order, and then the person on the other end also has a form, and they'll fill in the boxes as they get it, and it's like a telegram. And then you have this message, and you can go hand it to somebody and say, "Hey, I got a message for you. Here it is. It's got all the information, who sent it, who received it, who, blah, blah, blah." And you hand it off to somebody, and the message is complete. And so they're amateur radio forms as well. So it's just a real efficient way to do it, because then you're not sending all of the lines and to send something that looks like a form like this, you have to reproduce this whole form And it's got to be a graphic, so then it also makes it in a lot of cases hard to copy and paste things. So this is a great way to do it.
If there were like some Red Cross station or something where you had a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
There's no convenient way where you could have one guy sitting there keying in messages and another guy doing his telnet, shuffling them out the door.
Okay, say,
Other than unplug your serial cable here, here's TNT and the swap.
yeah. I think it would depend on the situation. I mean, it just depends on how smart you are with all this stuff. You can figure out ways to do things and cut down on time and effort by different people.
Well, can you run two WinLink Express sessions on the same laptop?
I don't think so, no. You might be able to have two composing two messages at a time on one laptop. You can open up multiple windows like you could with a regular email client. I do that all the time. I forget to send it, and then I start sending another mail, and I'm looking. Oh, hey, I forgot to send this one.
Does it save drafts?
I don't know. One way you can do it, if you're sending out messages like health and welfare ones, if people don't mind, you can bundle them up in one message and just add the names of the people that like you can say the following people have been marked safe, and blah, 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 and send it out to 20 different recipients. And if you do that, the best way to do it is to add all the recipients as carbon copies, because then the carbon copies are sent out by the destination mail server. So they're the ones that read the message headers and find out how many CCs you might have or BCCs. And then that puts a lot less load on the gateway server.
Ryan, I'm gonna have to excuse myself. I gotta head back to Carp. Wife's gonna be worried, so.
Okay. We'll send her an email if you like.
A WinLink.
Yeah. Right. It's good seeing everybody.
There's more.
See you later. Choose. I'm gonna get a 6,000. Yeah, okay. All right, see you tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, and this shows how they're using the message precedents. These are codes that you would put on a subject matter. That would be, I don't know who figures these out, but so you might get something, people would probably want to be trained by the agency that they're going to support to make sure that they use the correct format. Like I see here, these have, like they'd be sending one to the EOC regarding flooding, another to a shelter, status is full. So you'd want to have a piece of, you'd want to have some kind of instruction as to how you should word your subject lines. Anyway, okay, this is about halfway through this. I'm going to save half of this for another time. Because then it gets into radiogram. Radiograms are what ham radio guys do. So the radiograms are, there's still nets that do this, that do ham radiograms, and it's what does anybody know what that's called? National Message System or something like that?
Yes. National Traffic System.
National Traffic System.
That's what Chuck used to do.
Huh?
Yes.
MPZ used to do that. Wow.
Yeah, Jug did all that stuff. He also had, when he died, we got several of his TNCs, and every one of them was missing parts. we knew that they were jugs because they had black tape on them everywhere.
There's Jug when you need him.
Huh?
There's Jug when you need him.
Yeah. He would tape them all together and put them, hang them from in his car with tape and you knew if it was all gummed up and everything that Jug got a lot of use out of it.
All that Cantronic stuff was really meant to be sitting on a desk in the shack. It's not really meant to be
Yeah.
in a tent somewhere.
Yeah, he had a couple too, and three Cantronics modems. I was able to get one working one by robbing parts out of the other two.
It's really not meant to be like waterproof, built spec.
And then he had, and I don't know, because the Cantronics are not upgradable firmware wise like other things. You have to buy a chip. And like it's their BIOS chip, and you put the BIOS chip in, and it's got all the latest, greatest things in there. And the same with memory. You got to put old fashioned memory chips in there, you know, to add memory to them. And the two of Jug's TNCs had no screws. So the lid was falling off, and I don't know what he did, but
That's because it was being opened up too many times.
yeah.
Probably lost the screws.
Pretty sure they didn't have
Better without the
same thing with
screws.
Well, the funny thing is that he didn't update the BIOS on any of them, but he had bought the BIOS because they're in little plastic case with the, you know, it's about the size of an 80286 or something like that chip. Pretty good size, and they're little plastic boxes, and he had boxes with the chips for him, but he never put them in.
Other silly question. What, do you all know offhand what digipeters, high level digipeters are still on?
None.
Yeah.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
None. But that's going to change because I've got a TNC that I know works because it's mine that we're going to put up at Lacumba Peak. And Jim Everson has a 2-meter radio where, you know what it's running, what it was been running on is a Master 3.
That's good.
It's kind of overkill, but but it wasn't answering. I don't know. It's just, we don't know whether it was the TNC or the radio or what, but we're going to replace the whole thing. We'll put in a new TNC and a new radio, and I'm going to give Jim Everson the TNC tomorrow, and then he'll test it and make sure it works. There's I know it's on a tower. I don't know how tall it is. Doesn't need to be that big because it's
Whatever the single band or dual.
no, I think it's a single band. It's just 2 meter.
Not much 440 packet.
Not that I know of. I haven't heard of. I mean, there's a sort of a standard packet frequency, and that's in 2 meters. Anyway, I'll save the rest of this for another meeting, and because there's some good stuff and part of this getting into how the program operates.
This will be posted on the website.
I can do that, yeah.
Let me just download it.
Yeah, what I want to do is we've had a lot of problems trying to figure out how to reintroduce an MCOM group into SBARC. Is anybody Aries people here?
Yeah. Former.
Huh?
Former.
And
It is.
there's just not any, there's nothing going on. You can't join Aries. So if you want to, huh?
Nobody talked to.
No, there's, if somebody joins a club and they want to get some training or they want to join an MCOM group, there's nobody to join, no one to talk to. And
In charge of Aries.
nobody at this point. I guess it's
What happened to Lou?
Lou's not doing it anymore.
Did he take her place?
3 years ago. And, Wayne Beckman is our the ally or the person that liaison, thank you. But they're
Yeah.
about getting a new person in charge, but there just hasn't been much motivation for it.
And frankly, the ARRL has been zero help in that regard as well. So the part of the now, if we were able to reconstitute Aries, we'd have to. They were very particular about what they would do and what they wouldn't do. The Aries had a mission, and it was to assist the county, and any other thing was off limits.
Yeah, they have like a work order number
Yeah.
for that task.
So just look at your, your QST magazine is especially during the summertime, you see Aries handling communications for parades and races and, just like Rick's groups do now, but the guys are the guys that are doing it are wearing Aries shirts and Aries hats and they're part of their Aries group and they do a lot of different things. That's not something that we did here. And
pretty active.
yeah, the Ventura group is pretty large and they have a lot going on and they do a lot of different things.
They're doing wings over Camarillo.
Yeah.
19th and 20th August.
So they get out there, they get people interested, and I imagine that a lot of people join just because they want to be part of something like that. And I read everybody's application or everybody's when they join the club, I get a copy of their application that they submitted online, and I look at them, and 99% of them say they're interested in emergency communications. And then not having any emergency communications is like, well, that's kind of what I wanted to do, and I can't do that, so they lose interest. So learning how to do this, whether or not you're in an organized MCON group or not, is a good skill to have if you've got equipment. If you're a ham radio operator, you should have these skills. Unless there's some other reason that you just really don't want to do that, it's a good skill to have. Even if you were helping your neighbors, just your next door neighbor and the guy across the street and whatever, you have a capability of sending email out to people, you're going to be a real popular guy. So I think the way to approach it is to start getting people taught MCOM skills. They don't have to necessarily have a group to join, but they'll learn some skills that they can use. At that point, if we want to become a shares group, we have people that are already trained in doing this, and all they've got to do really is basically show up to a meeting and say, I want to be part of the group. So I think that's another way to get an MCOM group going is, and there's a lot of other things we can do too with this that, that we could integrate into some of the things we do now. So anyway.
Really, on the, you were mentioning, if you're using WinLink to send an email, like I said, all the forms, it would be another WinLink user, right? But if you were just sending an email to Joe Blow from WinLink, some other non@winlink.org email address, that's possible?
Yeah.
It's just how do you tell the guy, hey, don't send me a 10 megabyte video back?
Well, first of all, it would come from your WinLink address.
Right. But I mean, this is like, it's like I said, if you had 12 neighbors saying, oh, you've got HF access to something, here, send this email to my cousin, everything's okay,
they may go into this later on in this, but as I recall, there's there are limitations. You can't send attachments, and you have to send the messages as plain text, which is why you use their program as opposed to using your own email programming and just setting it up to. You can do that. I've done that, but I believe when you compose a message, there's nowhere to put an attachment.
I'm just saying, well, how do you prevent the other guy on the other end from replying?
I think it'd get returned to them by the WinLink server.
Email format.
Yeah, it would tell them that they can't do that. And if you're going to be, like I told my daughter when I was doing this, I gave her my WinLink address and she lives like in Mission Viejo. And I told her, I said, if you need to reach me, don't send me pictures or anything, just like a text message, plain text.
Because usually when people type stuff, it's in HTML. They're whatever thing they're on there, it's
Yeah.
gonna come in HTML or RTM. I mean, you have to go out of your way to say, I want this in plain text.
Is your daughter Ham?
No. Yeah, most email clients now, if you want to do plain text, you got to do some work to do that because it's just a given that it's everything's sent in.
And it's just been kind of one of those funny
HTML.
things that you send them one line of text and.
Yeah, it's
in
still
HTML.
sent in HTML. If you look at the source code or look at the code of the message, and you'll see the MIME. I forget what MIME number it is, but you'll see MIME text HTML, I think is what it is, and then it's
much bigger.
so it encodes it, and it encodes it in UTF-8, and then it sends it out, and there's a whole bunch of stuff goes on there. But mail can be sent with just plain text. Matter of fact, you can send email. I can log into a mail server here over Telnet and just operate the whole email server by typing the commands that are necessary to get an email out. Then you type your text as plain text and send it, and it works.
I'm just saying on the other end, for them to do the same thing.
Yeah, they'd
Back in HTML.
yeah, you could just say, if you want to reply, please do keep it short, no text, no formatting. I mean, text and no formatting and no attachments.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look, there's not even this is composing a message. There's not even a field for an attachment. But there are ways to send images over the system, but you have to use something else. Anyway, okay, I think that's all we'll do with this one for tonight. But that
Thank you. You're a cupcake, gonna go with my way.
Okay, so now I want to try it out. So tomorrow at the station, we could.
well, what we ought to do is set it up at the station where we can show everybody how to do it.
Because what you were talking about, there are now new members and they want to learn the stuff. And they need a meeting place that's safe, friendly, accessible.
Where are we going to do that?
Well, see, that's the trouble. That's why I made signs for the doors on the station, because if you're just driving up to the Red Cross, you don't know where the station is.
Well, but good looking girls are coming sometimes looking for the CPR class.
The bevy, just follow the bevy standing in front of the door.
Of course, they ran when Lima Juliet said something, but I want to set up the first thing down at the shack so that we can start teaching people how to do that. And we've got everything there that we need.
Yeah, that's the natural place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the natural hangout. And what you have to do with this, what I found, because I was able to send myself a WinLink message finally, was you just have to sit down and do it yourself and then get the positive reinforcement of receiving the message. Okay, I've done it.
Yeah.
And then figure out all the permutations.
Yeah, no, once you get it down, you got to keep practicing every week or two so you know how to do it. And that's what nets are for, and we used to do that every Tuesday. The nets were almost always using.
This is overwhelming. 18 different ways of accessing WinLink.
Yeah.
I mean, that's overwhelming. I mean, everybody says,
no,
I get it.
I've done 4 of them. I can't wait to try out the other 4.
Yeah. Oh boy. It's
well, it's matured a lot since I worked with this. They added a lot more new things. So it's I'm hopeful that we will get a lot of people that are, you know, we've gotten some new members recently that are real motivated. That guy has got his extra already and he doesn't even own a radio yet.
Right, and he's wondering which HT or whatever. See, but that's exactly the kind of person we want to really cultivate.
Yeah, that's why I'm having these.
Yeah, but see, the Saturday morning sessions are perfect if we can devote one part of the station or whatever to a type of today, this Saturday, we're doing FT8. And we're gonna sit there, and if you come in at 10 o'clock, we'll do an FT8 training session. And then the next week, we're gonna do WinLink, and the week after, we're gonna do Mesh, and the week after, you know, and so, and because what I find is I start forgetting, you know, how I did it months and months.
Oh, we all do.
You know, that's the discouraging part of it. You have to keep your skills up.
But I don't know how.
Well, the thing I was thinking is like, okay, your little Cantronics, whatever motor, that runs on 12 volts. I don't run on a car battery.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't really have stuff on my laptops to run them on whatever. And unfortunately, they're all 20 volt. I mean, with older laptops, yeah, you can just run it on 12 volts, but
Yeah, but you can get a power supply for those.
well, I have to go out and actually invest in getting a smaller inverter just to run the laptop. I mean, I need to buy myself another
Well,
gasoline generator.
there are actually mobile power supplies that don't have any inverters that because
DC to DC?
Huh?
I mean, a DC to DC?
DC to DC, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get one of those.
It's just a buck trans, you know.
Well, yeah, but like I said, the thing is, you gotta buy it, you gotta hook it up, you gotta see how bad the 2-meter RFI is. There's the whole problem.
I know, I can't use my iPhone
Brett,
7300.
Yeah, he's down in the club tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Rick,
Oh, thank you.
I'm semi-retired.
Semi, huh?
Yeah.
What happened to the other half?
Okay, guys, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Brian, that was great.
When the hot weather started. The problem I have